The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Riv, and what an exciting Friday it is, huh?
Yep. I don't know if you, I was saying it to our producers, and I smelled acetone or an auto body paint shop. You said you're all stuffed up because you can't smell it.
My nose is stuffed up.
You know, I live on the other side of the city, and I smelt it there when I took the dog out this morning and when I got into my truck. And then when I got here to the college, I could still smell it. So I'm wondering if they had a spill somewhere in the city that nobody's talking about yet.
Or it could be from that thing in Ohio there, on the Pennsylvania border.
Yeah, that's vinyl chloride.
They pollute, yeah. Well, but it's also got a lot of other, once it begins to burn, see, that's what they don't tell people, and now they've polluted everything.
Exactly.
And the EPA is saying, you know, they say, oh, this is it was perfect.
Yep.
But now they're finding out that they're killing they killed fish, they're killing chickens, they're killing everything. They polluted stuff because they don't understand it. It's vinyl chloride. But once you begin the combustion process, when you burn it off, you've got other stuff, phosphine gases, all kinds of other toxic gases that you create when you burn the stuff.
It's just like when you have a fire in your house and your sofa burns. It produces cyanide gas.
Exactly. Cyanide, it produces all kinds of other gases.
So you never know what you're going to get.
People don't know that. But the EPA should. But let me tell you a little story about the EPA quickly. I testified in Washington at the EPA, and we had a board of all kinds, people from the Coast Guard, everywhere. And we were there for 2 days, the union, because we were talking about a dump site in the area that violated the law, the SARA laws, right? So I went down there, and we testified for 2 days, and when we got done, they said, you're right, it was a violation of the law. And you know, the law's like about this thick. Like all the laws they pass, they don't want you to read them. It's like 85,000 pages, right? Then I found out how totally useless government is, especially on the federal level. We got done with all that. They said we were right. They violated the law. And I said, well, you guys are going to go down there and check the site. That was the first thing that horrified me, right? Here's the guy that was appointed by the President of the United States to be the head of the EPA. He looked at us and said, I can't go down there unless I'm invited.
You told me this story once. I remember that.
And I went, what? Oh, I can't go down there. Whoever's in charge of that district has to invite me. I said, you're the head of the agency. You can't go down. That's how bureaucrat. They want to make sure nobody steps on their little turf. It's strictly a ceremonial job. We've heard that before. Ceremonial job. And then the best one, the coup de grace. The icing on a cake, the cherry on top. He looks at us and he says, we're going to send them a letter. What do you mean you're going to send them a letter? You're not going to cite them, fine them, do something? He said, we can't. I said, what do you mean you can't? You're the EPA. They said, well, when they passed all these laws, they forgot to pass penalties. They had all these laws, and you violate the law, and there's no penalty on the book. So it's like, so there you go with the EPA and stuff. This is the garbage that you have to put up with.
I hear. Well, yesterday another person came out and announced their candidacy for mayor.
Yes. I heard. I didn't see it. I know you watched the video.
I watched part of it, and I got to give Jordan credit. It was Jordan James Sylvia who announced his candidacy for mayor on Mark Dion's show. And he said in a post about his appearance, he says, I've got to learn to do some interviews because I was just rambling. And when you listen to him, he was rambling. He had some good points, but they weren't contiguous. They were here,
I know,
then
fragmented,
there.
yeah.
You know, and Jordan's been known for that.
Yeah, and sometimes he goes too far. Because,
Right.
look, you got to, you know, when you talk about stuff, you've got to, you know, when you announce, you got to kind of be general and then get specific. Because
Right.
according to what I've been told, he's talking about, like, you know, like laying people off if he has to maintain tax. But you just can't do that stuff. The reality is that there are collective bargaining agreements in place. There are also, you know, you also have an obligation statutorily to maintain certain levels. They may not be high enough to be safe, but there are a whole bunch of things. But that's one of the problems. Well, you know, he's announced he wants to hold taxes. That's a good thing.
Yep.
That is a great thing. But he also said that for 100 years they've been taking money and giving it to city employees.
yeah.
But unfortunately, that's only a half-truth. Mm-hmm. They have been giving the money to rich people.
Right.
And giving them TIFs. And they've also been giving them to selected, very carefully picked city employees. Mm-hmm. The $19,000 pay raises, the $14,000 pay raises, the nephews that get to be a vice principal in only 5 or 6 years in the school department with a massive increase in salary through those 5 or 6 years. They are the select few who get these. Believe me, as somebody who had to negotiate for one of the lowest, for the busiest fire department in this state, for a city of our size, we were always, well, I don't know what it is now because I don't keep the stats anymore because it's
Not your job.
not my job anymore. But, and I presented this in front of the council. I remember one time I presented and I said, to show you the difference between Fall River and New Bedford, in that particular reporting period from the fire marshal, state fire marshal's office, I said, Fall River had 521 arson fires. New Bedford had 28. Pretty big difference.
Yeah.
Yep, nearly 500 more arson. That's not other types of accidental, etc. One of and we were always number 2 or 3 in the state. Boston was always the busiest, obviously, and then it was either Worcester or Spring. Or, you know, maybe Worcester that was ahead of us, and sometimes Worcester, as large as it is, was behind us. Mm-hmm. And we got paid crap. And that's why I won 2 arbitrations. When I went to the JLMC, I proved. We were at the bottom of our universe for fire departments our size. But we remember that article in the New Bedford Standard Times. So, Jordan, I hope you're watching, and you can do a little bit of homework on this. Because these are facts. There was a Sunday New Bedford Standard Times article that had a giant headline on the top of it that said, if you're an administrator, work in Fall River. If you're an employee, work in New Bedford.
Yep.
So
I remember that article.
And a lot of the money goes to rich people in the forms of TIFs and tax breaks, and we all know that our city administrator at the time was getting a kind of really light tax bill for a pretty, well, you know, and a very low assessment of her property in a very, very ritzy area overlooking the water.
That's right.
So,
and the minute she sold it, the property value went up and the taxes went up.
But I agree with you. I agree with you. I've been doing this for a long time, and I always read that thing about the rich in 1850. They don't care about us. You're right. The average person, fixed income people, the moderate income people, they've been crapping all over them for years, and are still doing it, especially with this mayor. This mayor has total disregard for anybody. He doesn't care about anything. So, you know, well, you know, I hope, you know, I'm looking forward to your campaign. I know you advocate for the average person, and you know, whether I agree or disagree with some of your policies, you know that that we have always been advocates for the, you know, I still am. I still work on the health care for the lowest income population in the city, the retirees, who are on a massively fixed income. You know, and they don't get the 3% or the 5.5% that 7.5% that Social Security did.
Right.
The maximum they can get is 3%, and that's not 3% of their pension. It's 3% on $12,000. So think about this. If you retire from the city of Fall River after 40 years, the most you can ever get for an increase in your pension is $360 a year, because that's 3% of 12,000, less than $1 a day.
Right.
You know, I mean, my water bill went up more than that.
Exactly.
I can't. That doesn't even cover the increase, let alone the increase. I was just looking at my taxes. I was horrified. From 2020, my 2020 I did my taxes yesterday. I was looking at my old taxes because I go through them and get some of the stuff, and I kind of compare. The 2020 tax bill, my property tax in this price, over $1,000 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Well over 1,000.
Right.
And I'm going, Jesus. And what am I getting for it? What am I getting for it?
Higher water bills.
Higher everything.
No police
But
services.
remember, we're elevating the city.
That's right.
And we're going to have a parade and a movie.
That's right.
Here comes. I'm glad to see him in there, and I know that Sam Sutter will be bringing these issues in because he was tough on crime. He does have a lot of background, and I know Jordan is about that because all Paul Coogan's ever done is run movies and have parades, hand out masks, you know, and
hand sanitizer.
and hand sanitizers and stuff. But you know, this is what we're left with. I'm segueing now. We're segueing. It's a beautiful segue, by the way. It's amazing how none of this stuff is scripted, by the way, people. We do everything off the cuff.
We do it on the fly.
This is what Paul Coogan, we know we've been #1 in crime for 3 years. He's been in for 3 years. We've had 3 police chiefs, but this is a little picture. It's not a big one. I like to get it big, but I had to shoot it over. Somebody emailed me this picture. I mean, texted me. Then when I shot it over to my email, I wanted to download it quickly so I could run it off for today's show. Kennedy Park and Liberty Street, car break-in. Description: in Fall River, Kennedy Park and Liberty Street, there's a guy breaking into a car the past week at 4:30 in the morning. And there's a picture of him. And they're not going to catch him because the police don't go to these things.
Right. As a matter of fact, they tell you to file your report online.
My car was, as you well know,
I remember.
my car was broken into, but at least this guy's looks like he's using a Lloyd to get in. I don't know if he's going to break the window, but they broke my window, broke into my car, and rifled through it, took the change out of the console, and I called the police, and they said, go online and file the report.
Right.
And I understand that. This is not anti-police. They're so damn busy with crime and bullets that they can't go to these things. They can't tie up a police officer down there. Yeah, somebody broke into your car, give us an estimate of what they stole, and blah, 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 blah. The only good thing was they caught the guy because he was breaking into every place. He was hitting every car in the parking lot at the Durfee Union Mills. Mm-hmm. So they did catch him.
Yep.
So, but that was the thing. And so I was going to bring in today, but we started the show early, but look at shootings. Never seen so much crime in the city of Fall River. Shots fired outside a club.
Fernandez Club, that's Elsden Street.
Fernandez, stabbing. Here's an old thing that said there was a mayor that actually said they're going to try to catch these people and was working with the police department and the DA, who happened to be Sam Sutter at the time, I believe.
Yep, Sam Sutter was the DA and Will Flanagan was the mayor.
To cut crime. Mm-hmm. But this is it. I mean, we could do the whole background. One of these days I'm going to bring some tape in and I'm going to tape all of these things. And that's the question I have to ask you people out there for watching. You want to re-elect this guy? Really? Is this the kind of city you want? Is this the kind of city you want? Not me. Like I said, I don't care if you like him or dislike him personally. He's an ineffective, incompetent mayor. And that's the reality. You can't get around it. You can't avoid it. All he's ever done is make sure that the developers get whatever the hell they want and ignore crime, ignore the fact that even though he's got a lifetime in the school department, we have one of the 335th out of 351 cities and towns. Yep. You know, we've got, this city is a mess compared to 4 or 5 years. When Jazel was the mayor, he may have been extorting rich people.
For once, somebody was getting it back.
But we didn't have the crime in the streets.
No.
We had a police department that had a higher complement. We had, the city was he could make a decision. This guy.
We were in good financial condition.
Nobody ever sees this guy, and I got to segue into something else, but quickly. But before we do, and the other thing is, here's a mayor who lives in a city that we know drastically needs affordable housing because of our population, and we've also got a whole wall full of articles from people complaining about their rents going up $600, $800, $400, and they can't afford it. And I told you, I personally heard the governor at the Macros convention say the biggest problem Massachusetts faces is affordable housing. Not just for the poor, but for everybody. And now it's like karma. Karma's a beautiful thing. Seems like when we talk about these things, they fall out of the sky. I got another one texted to me. In case you don't know who that is, Paulie, you stood alongside of her a couple times, I think, because that's the governor.
That's the governor.
That's the governor. Hashtag Massachusetts is a great place as long as you can afford to live here. And right now, with the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, and then some of what we've seen in terms of inflationary pressures, it's tough. It's a tax package directed at making life more affordable for folks. So the governor is going to try to put a few more dollars in everybody's pocket because she knows everybody needs affordable housing. So does the mayor of New Bedford. So does the mayor of Chicopee. So does the mayor of any other city in town.
So does the mayor of Boston. She just put a whole package together.
Anybody in the state, everybody in the state knows this except Paul Coogan and Kenny Fiola.
And isn't it interesting that the governor appointed Kenny Fiola
to the affordable housing? And you wrote a letter, and I wrote a letter, and Carlos Caesar wrote a letter, and
nobody seems to respond.
No, I never got it. And and didn't Joe Cavallo write a letter
yes,
too?
He did.
Joe Cavallo. So the four of us wrote a letter of complaint to the governor. But at least she's going public. So now maybe we have to hold their feet to the fire. Maybe we have to all send a second letter to her and tell her, get a man who is categorically said on the record, I do not care about affordable housing. I don't want to do affordable housing.
Right.
So this is what you're up against, people. This is the mayor that in 3 years has done almost as much to destroy this city as Joe Biden has done to destroy this country.
And remember, when Jazel was mayor, he fired Ken Fiola.
Yes, and he almost went bankrupt.
And I was going to say, and towards the end of Jazel's term, he was just about in bankruptcy. And then Mike Dion came out and bailed him out again. Yeah. And Mike Dion said, well, the reason why I gave him the contract was because he has more experience than the other company did.
Yeah, and what has he done in 40 years?
Right.
Show me something. Mike Dion gave it to him because
he was told to.
He was told to, exactly.
Right.
And the reality is, don't give me that crap. What has he done? From the Derby horses, the carousel that was going to bring in thousands of tourists. I was on the board of Heritage State Park when he made that presentation, and I am still infuriated by the fact that I gave that package, that presentation, to former City Councilor Kozak to use at the council, and I never got it back, and he's passed away, so I will never see that again.
Right.
But you want to see the promises, the bouquets. It's almost as many, not quite as much as all the promises with the MBTA, but pretty damn close. You know, and I'll never forget Mark Sullivan from Citizens for the Citizens remark when we were sitting there. He was on the board with me, and he went, "Are you expletive deleted kidding me?" The expletive started with an F.
Yep.
Just in case you don't know. Do the math. Figure it out. He said, "Are you expletive kidding me? We're going to get 500,000 tourists coming down here to ride Derby horses," because that's what in Fall River we used to call the carousels.
That's right.
At Lincoln Park, the Derby horses.
Right.
You know, so, and it never did. As did the Bounty and the Battleship and the submarine and calling it a gateway city and now changing the logo and all this other crap. It's all crap. What changes the city is simple. Even the governor knows that.
Make sure people have
Giving money to the people.
That's right. Make sure they have
You're
money.
picking their pocket, and the governor's trying to give us some money because she understands that people with no money can't survive. And in this city, if Massachusetts gets a cold, Fall River gets pneumonia.
That's it.
And that is unacceptable.
That's it. Well, now that we're done with that, well, we're never done with it. Let's
Never
put it that
done
way.
with that.
Never done with that. I have to talk about the school department.
Oh yes, I would. That's why we got almost 7 minutes.
We've got time.
Yeah, and I wanted to get this out of the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody wants to see all these pictures, one show we'll have them all behind us, and you can read them.
It was reported to me by a school department employee, that allegedly, remember I
Well, I'm
said
so
that,
glad you said that.
allegedly at the Laterno school, a second grader allegedly beat a paraprofessional about the head and body, broke a couple of ribs, and sent the paraprofessional to the hospital via Fall River EMS. And the school department is once again doing what? Covering it up.
I didn't see that on the news.
I didn't see it on the news.
I didn't hear it on Radio Pravda.
Nope.
I didn't see it in the sterile news.
Nope.
Nope. Allegedly.
Yep.
And there was an alleged inappropriate sexual contact
That's
by
right.
another individual.
Over at Durfee.
Over at Durfee.
And
has
I
been-
heard that directly from the parent
From the parent of the individual.
That's right.
And they're trying to squash it. And that parent
Right.
was supposed to be getting a lawyer.
Right.
Let's hope he does. Because I'm sick and tired of Mimi Larrabee and her crew. Most of them are gone now. Paulie's still there.
Yep.
But Mimi Larrabee and the rest of that crew that covered up Malone, they've been doing this for years in the school department. Because there was an allegedly, and another one that I heard, they terminated an employee who was on a third shift who had depression problems and some issues. And the individual committed suicide. So did the termination precipitate the suicide? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, everything is that's like the Hermit Kingdom. We don't know. Nobody knows anything. These are all allegations. We can't prove them, but somebody's got to start. If we had a real mayor, he would be jumping up and down on the desk of the superintendent of schools. The school committee would be jumping up and down, not asking for pay raises, but finding out what the hell. We've had videos of fist fights,
Yep.
allegations of rapes and abuse. EMS made the run. Broken rib, I sympathize with you. I broke a rib. I've had a lot of bruised ribs, but I broke a rib once. And I'm going to tell you something.
It's not easy.
That is one of the most painful things in the world. As long as you don't breathe, you're okay. But unfortunately, you have to breathe. And and then when you almost black out, you see like white, like you're going to heaven. You see the white light when you sneeze or cough.
Yep.
Because that rib is, as a nurse.
Well, I know personally because I broke a rib when I was 10 years old. I fell out of a tree into a picket fence.
But imagine a assault like that by you must have been a pretty big second grader.
I think so too.
But the reality is that nothing. Cover everything up. We got to get the Mayor of Wonderful on because we got to figure out how it is in Wonderful. Do they have these things in Wonderful? I don't know. Maybe the Mayor of Wonderful can tell us.
Maybe.
Because it is really wonderful in Wonderful, but it's also wonderful in Fall River, too. Because if you ask Kenny and Paulie, everything's beautiful in the city. Look, we got $3.7 million of growth.
Yep.
Yeah, all the rich people. How much growth do you think somebody living in a three-decker whose rent just went up $800 has got up growth? They got negative growth. And we got the other bobbleheads in the council going, oh, we're doing so good, we're doing so good, we're doing so good. Oh yeah, all the harp seals.
Right. And remember, all of that new growth, all of it had TIFs. So somebody's got to pay the taxes on that new growth, and it's not the developers.
Well, it's their growth.
Yeah. Just look at the Lincoln School. They just got a tie.
See, their growth.
Yep.
Their growth, our loss.
Right. Exactly.
Because we're the ones that sustain the loss.
Exactly.
Not them.
Right.
But they don't tell you that. But this city is in chaos. There's no doubt about it. And what is he going to run his campaign on? I've provided affordable housing. I've reduced crime. We got better schools. He can't, because none of that's true. He's had no plan. Has he been transparent? Again, no. No on Malone. No on John Perry. No on everything that's happened in the school department.
Right.
No, 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 no. And granted, listen, we understand that you can't give every single detail. Well, you have an obligation because you work for the people of this city to tell us what is going on because you work for us. You are answerable to us at all times under the Constitution. And if we're having problems with the school system, we should know that. And we should know what your plan is to do something about it. But that's the problem. Paul never has a plan. All he does is hide. He doesn't address anything. He just walks around and then announces his next parade or his next movie. Or then he gets now after 3.5 years, he gets people chasing ATVs around because everybody in the community is outraged.
Right.
So he is a reactionary mayor. We do not need a reactionary mayor or a do-nothing mayor because at best he's reactionary and at worst he's a do-nothing. We need a mayor who will be proactive and will put the people of this city first. And you already know he doesn't have my vote.
Yeah, he's got to have a plan. He's got to put a plan together to make the people feel secure. Without a plan, the people don't feel secure. If he at least had a plan, people would give him a bit more latitude, but he doesn't have a plan. And I think that's a big problem.
Oh, he's got a plan to make the rich people richer.
Yeah.
That's his plan.
He wants another term, and the reason why he wants another term, Jean St. Pierre posted this, is that at the end of that term, 2025, the ARPA money will be gone. And then he'll be gone with it.
And the city will be in the toilet.
That's right. And we will be financially strapped again.
We may even be in receivership at that point.
Well, because without that ARPA money, he would have never been able to pull it out of the clouds. Well, on Monday, it is President's Day, and we will not be on the air. So we will not see you until next Wednesday. Ooh, that's going to hurt.
I know.
Have a wonderful weekend, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for inviting us into your home, and we will see you next Wednesday. Have a good long weekend.
That's it. Enjoy your weekend.